Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Presents on Shudder. I am Sean,
And I'm Missy.
and we have a recent addition to the Shudder catalog to discuss today. And Missy, I think I'm safe in saying that we both highly recommend this film. Am I correct?
You are correct. This film made my top five of last year. Well, technically it came out in 2022, but it didn't become that was only on the film fest circuit. It wasn't available to everybody until last year.
Yeah, Ray and I were going to see this at Beyond Fest in 2022, and it was like on a weekday afternoon, I think, or something, and we just couldn't do it.
Oh, that sucks.
I felt like it took fucking forever to hit Shudder.
It did. It was available as a Prime rental for a while. That's how I saw it previously, before I got to watch it again the other day as a second viewing. But when I first saw it, it was a rental on Prime.
What is the name of this film?
Satanic Hispanics.
Fucking awesome name, too.
It is. I mean, the name, the box art, all of it. It's very it just everything about this movie is fun.
It really is. And so this is the sub show of the Horror Vision where we're going to, you know, we're really looking to tell people because I know it's come up that for drive-in mutants, Joe Bob fans, of which Missy and I both count ourselves among them.
For sure.
You'll notice that Joe Bob, we're recording this on very late on Thursday, March 14th. So Friday, March 15th is the beginning of the new season, The Last Drive-In. And although it's a two-movie, like normal, two movies, right? A double feature, this season is different because it's going to be one movie every other Friday from basically from next week until September. And the reason they're doing this, they're not saying this, but 100% the reason they're doing this is because Shudder sees their subscriptions jump up significantly when Joe Bob comes on and then drop off when he leaves, which has previously been, he's on for about 2 months, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to extend that. And so I know, Missy, you said in a lot of your drive-in mutant fam Facebook groups or social media groups, you
Mm-hmm.
see people who count themselves as drive-in fans, mutant fans, and they don't really know what else is on Shutter, so they just jump on when he's on and they jump off when his season ends. We want to help people say, like, hey, I mean, I subscribe annually because A, I save money, and B, I knew within a very short period of time. And Joe Bob was what got me to Shutter too. But I
Mm-hmm.
knew almost immediately. I'm like, this app is great. This channel,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been subscribing. You and I both signed up very early on, when Shutter first started, and I mean, it just went up like a buck or two, but still, it's still like the best $6 I pay a month easily. So I don't get it. I mean, while a lot of us horror fans, we do have massive collections of physical media. So, I mean, I know some people are like, I have this stuff anyways. But there's a lot of, like, we've both found a lot of stuff that's either foreign or very independent, or, I mean, various cool movies that are up there that we just found because we were poking around.
Yeah, and they do so much in the way of so many movies we see now. They help produce, they help get made. So, like, they work closely with Elijah Wood's RLJE, or I always mix the initials up, but
Mm-hmm.
RLJE, whatever it is. IFC, Midnight. There's some other ones, but those are the two big ones that spring to mind. And like those inevitably end up on Shutter as Shutter exclusives, and they live there. So
Mm-hmm.
that is, one of the things people may not know some of the movies that are there, and like we want to tell them about them. So I mean, admittedly, maybe this is kind of going against the grain of what we want to do with this show, where like Satanic Hispanics is so new, maybe people are going to click on it anyway, because there are some buried treasures that we'll get to on these episodes. But just in case, I feel like I really want to push people towards watching this, because this, man, this would have been in my top 10 had I seen it last year.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's the best anthology movie since Trick or Treat, which I love.
I would tentatively agree with. I'd have to like my knee jerk reaction is absolutely. I'd have to stop and like look at a list of what else has came out just to
Hmm.
be sure. But I'm pretty sure if it's not my favorite since Trick or Treat, it's like my second favorite.
Well, and it's a very similar format. And I really like how Trick or Treat did it. And I like how this one does it too, where all of the stories are very interwoven into each other to tell one big story.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the other anthology films are not like that. They're kind of just their standalone stories
Yeah. I mean, you look at
with a
like,
very loose wraparound, like Creepshow or
yeah, which I love
Tales of
Creepshow.
Halloween, stuff like that.
I mean, or like look at like the VHS movies, and I like them to varying degrees, but like at some point, the wraparounds have just, I mean, it's just like, why are you even here? Like
I mean,
they just bring nothing to like they're trying to do this, but I don't feel like they do this at all.
yeah, I don't know. The VHS movies are not my thing. They're okay. I mean, a couple, but I don't really like hand cam movies, and I have a lot of issues with those. But this is a fantastic anthology, um, and it's done by Satanic Hispanics. Is done by 5 different Hispanic directors. We have Mike Mendez does the first segment, The Traveler, which is the wraparound. People will know him from he did The Convent, Don't Kill It, Grave Dancers, and Big Ass Spider. Damian Rugna does Tambien Low V, the second story, and we know him from Terrified and When Evil Lurks. Eduardo Sanchez did El Vampiro, and we know him from the Blair Witch Project. Gigi Sol Guerrero did Nahuales. People may know her short El Gigante, or she did do a segment in VHS 85 and maybe another of the VHSs. I'm not positive. And Alejandro Cruz does San La Muerte and The Hammer of Zanzibar. And people may know him from Juan of the Dead, which, if you haven't seen that, that is an excellent and fun movie too. And then it's just the basic setup is that police raid a house full of dead Latinos. There's one survivor. The cops bring him in for questioning, and he tells us 5 stories that are all interconnected to fit into the big story.
So that character, the Traveler, so I don't know the movie that I'm going to mention. I've never seen it. I don't really have any interest in seeing it. But Kirsten right away was like, "Is that Pedro?" I'm like, "No, his name is," and I'm looking it up. I'm like, "Efren Ramirez." She's like, "No, that's Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite." Never
I've never
seen
seen
it.
that. I mean, I'm not going to see that.
Same, but she was tripping off of it because she's like, "Oh my God, he looks exactly like he did," which was funny because then at some point they're looking at pictures of him because he's a traveler, right? And they're like, "This is from like whatever, he'd been around and looked the same for a long, long time."
Right.
And so it was just kind of funny. Like she said that, like, "Oh, he looks just the same," and then they said it too. But he's awesome. Like his voice is fucking outstanding.
Mm, yeah, he's a very good narrator for the story.
And then this actually ties well into our first episode of On Shudder because one of the actors in um, one of the later skits is Jonah Ray, who was in Destroy All Neighbors, who we did on the first episode. Do you have a favorite out of what was in Satanic Hispanics?
It's a tie between Tambien Lovi the Damien Rugna story, which is very serious. And then the San La Muerte Hammer of Zanzibar story, done by Alejandro Bruce. So the first story and the last one. What about you?
It is hard to pick. I think the Rugna, Tambien Lovi, which I believe means translates to I also saw it.
Oh, okay. I meant to look that up. I forgot.
It feels a lot like his movie Terrified. A lot.
It feels a lot like both. Like I feel like that could be like when we were talking about those two, and when Evil Lurks and how they felt like it was like he was creating a world, like it was a big story, and we didn't get the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is connected to both of them.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I really like they use the Rubik's Cube in a way where like when it starts, and it's the actor from When Evil Lurks.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it's Damien Solomon, who plays Himi in When Evil Lurks.
Okay.
He's fantastic. But the way that they use the Rubik's Cube, because I kind of feel like they take the same element that Clive Barker uses for the lament configuration and applying it to like metaphysical elements or theories.
No, I didn't even think of that with the lament configuration. That's fucking brilliant. Because he even says, when the guy asks him to do it again, that he's just recreating the algorithm for his Rubik's cube with the flashlight.
Yeah, that like blew my mind right there. I was like, I'm so in no matter what.
Me
Like
too.
that concept. Oh,
Yeah.
just I really like that one. But
hmm
what is it? The Hammer of Zanzibar by Alejandro Brut. I'm not saying it right, but Bruges. So I kept thinking, it feels so fucking Evil Dead. And,
hmm
and in fact, so there's an article
Definitely.
about this movie in Fangoria number 20 from back last year. It was the issue that had talked to me on the cover. Quoting the article, he wound up pitching the idea to Sam Raimi when he directed an episode of Quibi's Raimi produced series 50 States of Fright, which is something I don't think anybody like that. Quibi was like some kind of an app that was doing like short content. I remember reading about 50 States of Fright. I've never met a single person that's actually seen it. So I don't know if
I've
it's
never
out
seen
there
it.
somewhere or whatever, but so he said I wanted my short, Zazambe Mopungo, to be sort of a Caribbean cousin of his Kandarian demon, and to call the film Maya Morte, which was how the Evil Dead was known in Cuba. He said, when I finished telling Sam my idea, there was a long pause, and he said, I love it. But then they were also doing Evil Dead Rise, so it didn't happen. But so essentially, like, this was his version of Evil Dead.
hmm
And you totally fucking see it. Like,
hmm
Jonah Ray very much acts kind of like an Ash.
For sure.
And then there's the whole like when the demons are talking, like, what is it? I'll fuck your mother's heart. It keeps saying, like, it sounds just like the fucking Deadites, right? With
Yeah.
that weird effect
Right.
on the voice. So that
For
right
sure.
away.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like this movie, it's the anthology is balanced very well between having a couple of like very serious horror stories and then a couple like just kind of goofy ones.
Yeah, lighthearted. The El Vampiro is a great
Lighthearted.
example.
Right. But I mean, and yeah, El Vampiro and Hammer of Zanzibar, and I mean, they're delightful.
They're
It's just,
delightful.
it's gory and delightful. And, you know, all three B's are covered. We get
Yeah.
blood, breast, and beast.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I'm pretty sure all or most of the effects are practical.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure right.
And I love the design for San La Muerte at the end.
Yes. And Mike Mendez, god damn, I fucking love him. Like, you know.
Yeah, you love
But
Convent. I love Don't Kill It.
I still haven't seen that. That's the one with Dolph Lundgren, right?
Uh-huh. It's
Yeah, I need to
great.
see that.
I mean, I like
Um,
Convent too, but my favorite of his is definitely Don't Kill It.
Convent is it's like it's probably in my top five favorite movies. I just fucking and I know not everybody, like, there's a lot of circumstance around why that
Hmm.
is, I guess, but I just fucking love that movie, and I love him for making that movie. And this, like, he's got his chops up. I thought this was like that, the endings, the end of the wraparound. So the end of the movie is
Hmm.
like, it's crazy. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought he picked all the right actors.
All the
And
right directors. I mean, none
yeah,
of the stories are boring. Usually
no,
with the anthologies, you get like one or two great ones, and the others are just kind of like, eh,
yeah,
they're fine, but you don't really care. But I find all five of these very enjoyable.
I agree. And like Gigi Saw Guerrero's one, the no Noales, that one,
Hmm.
at first, I was like, the way it begins, the guy that's like got the body slung over the horse and he's kind of like, down the back roads. And like, I just couldn't get a beat on it. I was like, this is so weird. But I had a pretty good idea it was hers, and I didn't know why. I didn't look beforehand to see. I had read part of that article in the Fangoria months ago when that came, or probably almost a year ago when it came out, but I purposely didn't go back and reread it again because it'd been so long I forgot everything. So, but that one, it like where it starts, and people are going to have trouble with that one, I feel like, because it seems to be
Hmm.
one thing and then it abandons, I think, unless I missed some way that it all
No,
ties
it kind
together.
of does. It starts out as one thing and it turns into something else. I like the something else.
I
Like I
did
like the
too.
second half of the story better.
And it's
Um,
nuts. I mean, it just is
yeah.
so fucking visceral. And I was like, right away, I'm like, well, now I know. I had suspected it was hers, but El Gigante,
Mhm.
like right before we rolled, I was saying to you, we were lucky enough to see that at Beyond Fest. What year was that? 2013?
I don't. I have
I mean,
no
as a
concept of time. I know we went to see Curtains. We
went to
had
see
free tickets to
Curtains,
go see Curtains, and they showed El Gigante before.
but not the Curtains everybody knows as Curtains. It's actually been renamed, and we did an episode about this. I think it's either called The Portal or The Gateway. I can't remember. About the
Oh,
the chick that there is a Horror Vision episode where I specifically found this. We watched it and then we did a review of it because I'm such a big fan, and I couldn't find it for the longest time because they had switched the title, and finally I figured it out.
okay.
But it was just one of the free Beyond Fest shows, and we went, and then we got in, and that, yeah, Elgin. I mean, I was just absolutely blown away. I was like, holy fuck. So
Yeah, that one stayed with me too. But I mean, I also love wrestling, and I was a kid that used to watch turn on wrestling in Spanish just because I like to watch the luchadors.
and it's the perfect alignment of luchadors and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep. Yeah, if anyone
Which
can find El Gigante where they can watch that short, it's awesome.
it was on Shudder for a while, and I always, like, I just feel like they should bring it back and fucking leave it on there because it's a short. So if I can, I gotta look if I can buy a copy of that from, like, if she has a website or something, I will pay $20 for that 15-minute short, no problem.
Yeah, overall, I think this is a lot of fun. It's definitely a thumbs up from me. There's no point where I was bored or checking the time. All the stories were very solid. I certainly have my favorites, but I I liked all of it.
Same. I agree 100%. I think definitely if you're a horror fan, I'm sure you probably have at least been exposed to anthologies. I mean, maybe not. I don't know, but they're like definitely old school horror fans for sure. Because Creepshow, right?
Creepshow.
I mean, that's just iconic. But I think people should give this their time. I think that it is a very, very good movie, and I think it's great. Hopefully, it will just be on Shudder in perpetuity forever because they had a hand in producing it, so it just would make sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two, two that we've given you: Destroy All Neighbors and Satanic Hispanics. And maybe for the next on Shudder, we'll go back a ways. I don't have anything in mind yet, but we'll definitely, whatever it is, we'll come back and we'll bring more recommendations because I agree with you, Missy. It is the whatever I spend on it. I think I pay $54 a year or whatever it is.
Yeah, I do it monthly, but
That it is the whatever that breaks down to a month. Like it's definitely worth it. It's one of those things. It's just worth the money, and I get my money out of it because, like you
mm-hmm.
said, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff on there I don't give a shit about, but there's also a bunch of stuff on there I love, and there's a bunch of stuff on there that like I found and love.
Right. And I found quite a few things just by turning on Shudder TV.
I love my only complaint with Shutter TV is they program in a day's worth of programming, and then that programming reiterates every day for
Mm-hmm.
months. So like I I know every night for the last like 3 weeks when we sit down to watch, we've been watching Hannibal and it's on Shutter. And so whenever I go on Shutter, I turn on all of the TV channels just to see what's playing.
Mm-hmm.
And Slumber Party Massacre 2 has been on Slashix every fucking night at the exact same time, every fucking night. And, you know, there was a period a couple years ago when I still lived in California and it was during the pandemic. I'd get home earlier because I had a shorter shift and I put on Shutter and lay down on the couch and it was the same. It was Lyle, uh,
Okay.
the movie by Stuart Thorndike, who did Bad Things, which we covered on the show 6 months ago or so. But it was on every day at the same time. So I'm like, come on, dude, I'm turning this on every day at the same time. Can it not be the same fucking movie?
Nope.
Anyway,
Because a few weeks ago they were doing it with Convent, and I fell asleep
really?
watching Convent every night for like 2 weeks. Eventually, I saw the whole thing. I mean, I
Give me,
have it, but you know
no, I know.
that defeats the point.
But yeah, I mean, I love Shutter TV, but it would be nice if they would mix it up again. But small complaint. I mean, there's just so
I
much
love
stuff on
Shudder.
there. Yeah, same. So, and that's why we're doing on Shutter. So go watch Satanic Hispanics. And until the next episode of the Horror Vision Presents on Shutter, I'm Sean,
And I'm Missy.
and we're on Shutter.
A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.